But welcome to the SUCCESSFIT team call. And yes, I made a PowerPoint. I started and then I stopped and then I started. I don't know why I have sometimes such a hard time doing these things. I find them a bit distracting to make. But then, of course, once they're made, I find them easy to talk through. But anyway,
and you have them forever.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I just find that a lot of where I think when I'm sitting, especially with you guys, I really feel like I'm talking to my friends, and that's kind of how I want it to be. And I think that I can get distracted if I'm nervous. It makes me more nervous when I'm talking through a presentation. But anyway, that being said, I am going to share my screen. And I think I'm going to keep this a really tight call tonight. When I talked in the team call, I talked about that I was going to make this call about vision, and it is, but as I was kind of working my way through it, I actually discovered that it's more about intangibles. And I think I'll explain it a little bit more as we go, but as I've gone through my journey, and I know I have a lot to learn, but I'm coming up on 3 years being a really active coach. It'll be 3 years in September. And I think that what I've seen a lot of people come and go in the business. And what I've really realized is that there's a significant difference between people who coach and people who successfully coach for the long haul. And I know we talk a lot about being here in a year and why this is an endurance sport and being the tortoise and all those, great sayings that I really do hang my hat on. They're very valuable to me, and they help me keep going in this business because we all have hard times and we all have failures, but the success is so wonderful and so worth it that it's worth that, staying the course to get there. And that is the biggest, I think, hurdle for people. It's just continuing and pressing on and getting there. But today I wanted to talk about intangibles because I feel like as a coach, we have intangibles and tangibles. So I'm going to kind of dive right in. And for me, when I think about the tangible things we have as a coach, obviously the things that we can measure in our own success, right? It's making sure that every month we're hitting success, that we can measure that. The number of posts that we do and posts that we can measure that. We can look at other people's and measure it. We can measure them by their rank. We can even, for the most part, we can measure ourselves by our vital behaviors. We can look around and for the most part, we can see who's pushing play, right? Who's seeing progress in their physical goals because they are still pushing play. Who's drinking their Shakeology and eating clean. These are all things we can look around. And when I'm helping my team, I can look around and see, are they really doing these things? It's quite easy in a way for me to measure them. What we can't measure and what I think is intangible, one, of course, is hard work and consistency. There's elements of consistency we can measure, but I think in a deeper level, what we can't actually measure up, and I think are such a critical part that define between coaches and successful coaches, are these other two intangibles. And one is vision. And more I was thinking about vision, we talk about creating vision boards and we talk about, that why and being really clear. I think it's different for everyone, but for me, that vision actually comes down to desire. It comes down to, yes, I know what I want and I really want it, So I think that's such an important intangible that I want to talk about today. And of course, the other part is belief. What is possible in this coaching opportunity and what is also possible for you specifically. So believing in the opportunity and then believing in yourself and that you're capable of doing that. And it's something that I hadn't really spent a lot of time thinking about, but when I dove down and I thought a little bit more about what has helped me stay the course and other coaches that I've seen over the years, I've seen a lot of coaches of my peers and on our team come and go. Some have come in with a lot of excitement, some have had success and then just disappeared, right? And some have never gone anywhere. And that's all, very common. So when I was looking at it, this was a really interesting way for me to sum up and share with you guys about what we need to find in ourselves that I can't measure for you, that you need to discover within yourself in order to be successful at this. But first, before I kind of dive further into that, I want to talk specifically about this belief piece. What is possible? Because I think that we know when we dive into this, we know that, okay, I can help people, I can help I can reach these levels of diamond and star diamond and elite and top 10 and superstar diamond. You can see what those things are. Again, they're very tangible things. You know, we get this amazing statement of earnings. I don't know if you guys have all seen it. If you haven't and you want to see it, you can let me know. But they even separate it out between Canada and the US, where you can see what the lowest coach at every rank is making and what the highest coach at every rank is making. You know, and in Canada, which is really new here, like in the US, some of the biggest coaches are making $3 million a year. And this has only been around for, I don't know, maybe since maybe 10 years. I don't even know. I should know that exactly. But in Canada, I think some of the highest earning coaches are making 600 grand a year. And we're really new here. So I think understanding what is possible, and of course, what is probable if you keep going and you keep hitting those sort of basic milestones every single month, is such, I think it's really important. It was really key for me knowing what could be if I were to take this on, and really believe in myself. And this is that kind of concept of believing in the opportunity and what it can be for you. And I just thought, you know, like, I'm not one to throw out numbers too much in terms of earning. I think that it can be a little tacky, but I think it's really helpful it would be really helpful for me to hear from like my mentors or the people that are above me to understand their trajectory, even in their earnings, right? Because I know what I've done. I know I'm a 5-star diamond coach. I know that I've hit Success Club every single month, you know, since I really started almost 3 years ago. So I can understand those numbers. But I wanted to share with you that sort of my basic trajectory of every 6 months from my starting point, so you can have an idea of how my earnings have grown per week and see how that is an option for you, because it did start out really low. And in September 2013, I signed up actually as a coach in January of 2013. And I was really, I was thinking about it. Like, I knew this opportunity. I actually came into Beachbody knowing of the opportunity. I signed up fully aware, thinking that this was something I wanted, but I wasn't ready for it. So I kind of puttered around and ran a couple challenge groups, and then we moved back here. So by September 2013, I think when I really committed, I was making about $75 a week doing this. And obviously that comes through commissions. 6 months later, I had built up making sure I was hitting Success Club 10 every single month, adding a few coaches to my team every single month. And I was making about $300 to $500 a week. That's when I looked at my numbers today. A year in, so September 2014, that number had grown to $400 to $600 a week. 18 months in, that was $700 to $1,000 a week. 2 years in, so just this last September, that was $1,200 to $1,500 a week. And then at 2.5 years in, I've reached about $2,500 to $3,000 a week. So you can kind of see how that grows. And my point in sharing that with you is that you can understand that trajectory. Like, even in that, I put a little hockey stick in there. This is a really common trajectory. You don't see it. It might happen faster for people, but it doesn't it rarely goes. It rarely starts and jogs up really quickly, right? It really is this element of the slow grow, because you have to build your team, and then your business has to take root, and then their business has to take root. And that is, I think, why this can take so long. But my point in sharing it with you, I think, was to make sure that you understand. Obviously, I know there are coaches that have been in this shorter than me and are more successful, and I know many that never reached this point, but I wanted to make sure you guys understood what is possible. And as you're in these first couple years of that seems hard, that you're working really hard, that's what I see when I look at my numbers, that there really wasn't a lot of growth until that 18-month to 2-year mark. That's when my growth really started happening. I'm seeing some notifications pop up, and I don't know if they're chats. Sorry, I don't know what I can see. It's slow to grow. Okay, yeah, all right. And then it blows up. Yeah, so that was my whole point, was that, this is, and I saw Emma, my coach, do the same. And that was a huge part of my belief in this opportunity, is that, and I'll talk more about it, but I am just your random average girl from a small town who barely made it through university, and not that I'm not, that I'm proud of barely making through, we all have different priorities, but my point is that anybody can do this. And where we find the magic is in this intangible section. So when you understand my trajectory and what I did to get here, really my most measurable things that I did every single month were those vital behaviors. I never missed a month with Success Club 10. My first month when I committed in September, I hit 5. And then after that, I moved into 10s. And I will tell you right now that there were months I didn't know how I was going to hit it. And there were months where I was scrambling, even in my last few days, to get there. But when I made that decision that I am going to make this a priority, no matter what for me, that was, I think that was a huge part of my success, is making sure that I'm going to hit this no matter what, and I'm not going to let go of it. And adding the 3 to 4 coaches to my team, like that's an average. I've had months where I haven't added any. And then I think I had a good month last August. I remember adding 9, and that was kind of my biggest. And again, there are coaches that do way bigger numbers than I do. But for me, this is how I've grown this business. And that's what I wanted to show you guys tonight, was what is possible and what is probable if you follow my pattern. Okay, so moving on into this concept of intangible, I wanted to talk about who's being successful in this. I wanted to give you a few examples. Obviously, I don't know the earnings statements of individual coaches very well, but I know a couple that I work with, and I wanted to kind of give this stats and remind people of what is possible. There's Coach A, who's a college dropout, a mom, only with retail experience, and is now making over $250,000 a year with just in 4 years, with thousands of people impacted. That's Emma. That's my coach. And I have seen her, work this business consistently. I've seen her go from a brand new diamond to where she's at. And I think that's a really important piece to recognize, is where people, like when you look at maybe their background doesn't necessarily define our ability to be successful. And Coach B is Teresa, who's her coach above her. She was a degree, went and got, she's like a program developer. And she took this really slow and so no major accolades necessarily from Beachbody until recently, but now in just 6 years has made them, as part of the Millionaires Club, which means that she's grossed over $1 million total in her 6 years. And if you break that down, I think that's like $160,000 a year. And we all know from the trajectory that that's not what you're making in your first couple years. So, and then me, I think, as I said, I had sort of that barely there degree, came from a really small town, no social media experience or even a network to go from. And I have been able to grow this. And my point in this is to take a look at, like, what is it that makes people successful versus unsuccessful? Because I have seen people come in of all career backgrounds or no background at all. I've seen people come in with all the time in the world and with no time because they have 6 kids, or more. And that does not define what's going to make you successful or not. What I really feel like defines you is this concept of the intangibles. And this is where that comes into play. Okay, sorry, I have a few notes here that I want to make sure I didn't miss out on. So what I want to talk about in terms of your vision, like we talked about belief, and we covered what believing in the opportunity. I think that you can see what is possible here. And especially knowing that the average person can do it, you should know that you can too. But I think a big thing that I have recognized in myself is not to mistake what I love and what fulfills me in this as the vision that I desire. I kind of think there's 2 things at play here that I think really determine your intangible level of vision and desire in this business. I decided to coach for a few reasons. One was most certainly that I finished a program, and for the first time in my life, I felt like shackles had come off of my body image issues. It was like I'd finally discovered something that worked for me, and it was healthy. And frankly, for someone who came from a small town, I felt like I have been touched way too many times, and the people in my life have been touched so many times by body image issues and eating disorders and some level of that, like too many. That shouldn't be happening right now. I think that obviously there's something wrong. And so I do have a big passion for helping women. And when I get responses from my challengers, that they are finally feeling that same freedom that I got, that is what makes this very fulfilling for me. And I'm sure some of you guys can relate to that. Knowing that you're helping people is extremely fulfilling. It's what makes this fun and what makes me want to keep doing it. But it is still not my vision that I desire when I wake up. And I realized this recently when I was having a conversation with my upline sponsor and some other diamonds, and we were talking specifically about people, not making it through this long haul trajectory, not making it through that 18-month to 3-year period that is kind of the hardest slog of this, let's say. And they were kind of going around and asking, and it became very clear to me. I remember starting this and having a lot of doubts. And I remember having, my spouse he was supportive, but didn't really believe it, and I remember the silence I would hear from my friends, or like how they would never ask me about it because I think they were afraid I would sell them things. I remember all these hard moments, and I remember my own doubts, sometimes wondering, like, is this, like, what am I doing? Like, really, what am I doing here? And it was this feeling that, like, when I decided to coach, it was looking at my life, which was a wonderful life, but recognizing in me that I wanted more. I wanted the choice to live my life the way I wanted it, not going downtown on a GO train to a job that I didn't love, or I had to be responsible for. I wanted to create something that was my life designed by me, and when I think about the way my life was and the way it's going now, that was the vision that I held on to that really makes me want to keep going in this business. And I know that when I talk to other coaches that are significantly more successful than I am, that is this concept of the why that we hear. And it's a tough concept. It took me a long time to really understand, because I'm like, what's my why? But for me, it has less to do with this specific defined why and more my desire to make this successful for me because of the life that I want to live. And I think that's a really valuable thing. And because when we desire something, when we're really committed to the vision and we can see it, I think that is what is so critical about this, and can really, I think, take it to the next level. It's what keeps you going through those hard times. And for me, when I think about, there's a difference between why coaches coach and then why successful coaches coach. And we talk to people, it's funny, as I was realizing this, we talk to people in our sneak peeks and stuff about why people coach. And it's, these great prizes and trips and vacations, and it's building an income or making some extra money or freedom and helping people. But for me, and I think for really successful coaches, these are perks. This is not why successful coaches coach. These are just really nice benefits to, and great little gifts and perks that we get. But it's not really what's going to get someone out of their bed at 4:30 in the morning, because that's the only time they have to build this business. And I think that's an important thing that we recognize when we start to see those sparks of leaders in our team and in ourselves. So as I'm kind of nearing the end of this presentation, I pulled this right out of the internship that we run. It's day 2. And I took part of it from one of the Misfit internships that I really liked, but I had sort of made it my own, and it was just so clear. It really, I think, really sums up this whole concept of vision. And I know a lot of you probably haven't even been through the internship because it's really new this year, but I'll read it right out. The beginning quote is, "Where there is no vision, the people perish." And while this isn't meant to be a spiritual lesson, I heard this verse once upon a time, and it is so applicable to coaching. I've seen a lot of people come in this business, and I've seen a lot of people go out. What's the difference between the people that go and the people that stay? The people that stay are so connected to the vision of where they are going that quitting is just not an option. And that was me. The journey hasn't been all rainbows and butterflies every single day. I've struggled, I've fallen on my face, I've laughed, and I've even cried. But I never stopped taking a step forward because my vision was so strong that I could see the life I wanted for my family. I could hear the laughter and wonder of my children when we could travel wherever and whenever, and smell the coffee I would slowly drink with my husband instead of him rushing out the door to work, only to return stressed, tired, and late. I could feel the amazing feeling you get when you're surrounded by other awesome women who are finally feeling freedom from their body image issues and years of body bullying. I could taste that freedom, and there was no way I was going to walk away from that and go back to where I started. So really, I wanted to that was my whole focus in sharing with you guys tonight about vision. My whole message is just how important, I think, like we talk about, the secret. I've talked a lot about the secret sauce in being successful has to do with, consistency. And I do think that is really critical. You can't be successful without it. But I think at the end of the day, what takes people to that next level in this is feeling that vision inside of themselves and knowing that there's no other option. Like, this is the way I want to go, and this is a fulfilling way for me to get there. And I'm just not gonna let anything get in the way of that. And for me, that obviously that gets stronger and stronger the longer you do this. But I really think now that I've done this for a little while, that this is such a key thing. And if you can lock in on this early, I really think it's going to be what takes you to success in this. What's going to define your success, and what's going to differentiate those of us that continue on and those of us that don't, that give up on those goals. Because it's like when you have someone coming into a challenge group, and they may be really excited, and yes, they're going to make it change this time, but it's the people who really invest into it. It's the people who really are like, this is my time, and they take it seriously, and they push play, and they struggle through the struggles, but they have that vision of how much better their life is going to be when they finally follow through on something. It's no different in coaching. It's about really having a clear picture of what this could be for you, believing in that, and going forward. And I guess the last part of that is just this idea of belief in yourself. And for me, it was really helpful in, like, I chose Emma off of YouTube. Like, I wasn't a typical challenger that was recruited into this. I was looking for ways. I was lost in my life with what I wanted to do. And I was wanting to finally be successful in my own health and fitness. And I came across her video, and of 100 other coach videos that I watched on YouTube, hers, I think, spoke to me. One, because she's really positive, and that's something I admire. She was a mom like me, so really relatable. And she was just your average person like I am. And I think that's that was really helpful in me believing that if she can do it, I can do it. And I think that is also what I hope you guys understand today in showing up for these calls and showing up in your business every single day is like, if I can do this, you can do this, because there is nothing special, only the tangibles that we can follow through on, and the intangible, like, elements of vision and drive and desire to do this. Because everybody can hit Success Club. You can Google information that you need. You can talk to more people. Yeah, it's hard and it's not always easy, but you get better at it. Those things are all very possible. What might not be possible is your belief in yourself and your ability to see where this can go and grab hold of it and never let go. Okay, that was a lot of me talking. So finally, I just want to end. I love this quote because it says, create the highest, grandest vision possible for your life, because you become what you believe. And I think that the longer I do this, I think I've always believed that, but the older I get and the longer I do this, the more real and valuable I think a quote like this is, because we really do go in the direction that we're watching, and I think we've all seen that in our challenge groups with our challengers, and even in ourselves as challengers. When you're focused on going towards a goal, that is the way you go. It might not be the most direct route, but you'll get there eventually. Yeah. Anyway, does anybody have any questions? That's my vision talk for the evening. Comments?
Thank you, Bria. That was really inspiring.
Thanks, Chanel.
I mean, I've been around since the beginning. I remember when you had that vision, like when we sat at Super Saturday upstairs on those tables. It was like 2 years ago, and you're like, I can just smell the ocean.
Picture it like it's gonna happen,
I love that, Bria. And I wish I could see what Chanel has seen, like to see you grow. Like, I think that would help me if I could see that process, because I listen to so many top coach calls and no one talks about like the middle. Like everyone talks about starting and where they are now, but no one talks about the hard part, which is the middle.
I can tell you all about the beginning. Success is empty.
Yeah,
I mean,
really.
These are things that I watched, and I watched Emma. Like, I came in when Emma was at about 60,000 in her annual income, and
Wow.
she was just at the cusp of getting to that 6-figure goal. And me and Bria were new, and SuccessFit was crickets. SuccessFit was Bria.
Well, I feel better then. Yay.
Yeah. Bria posted every single day, and no one liked, commented, or anything. Like, I remember I watched that, but I learned something so valuable. I'll never forget that, because I just realized, like, I watched it, and I watched how that consistency mattered, because it didn't matter if people were liking or commenting or engaging or whatever. She was demonstrating that she was committed to this no matter what. And that's what I learned out of that, is that people always make it about themselves, like, people aren't replying to my messages or blah, blah, blah. But it's like, that's not what it's about. It's about demonstrating that you are serious about what you're doing. And so, when Bria's not crying about the fact that people aren't commenting on her posts, it doesn't matter, because she's doing something more important, which is like building the trust. And so those people on the team come around, or other people come around, but they see that she's committed.
Thanks, Chanel. That's really, I remember you saying something along that lines to me, and it was like, okay, it just drilled home for me. It was like, yeah, that consistent, we're posting on our pages, and we're posting out there. And if you feel like nobody's listening, but so many people are listening, and they're waiting for you to give up. I know that sounds bad. It's not that they're waiting for you to give up, but they're kind of expecting it. And when you don't, that's what stands out for them. I think that's what that makes them think like, oh, this is a real thing, like coaching is a real thing, and I can do it. And that is how I have coaches that come to me now, particularly through my page that I don't know, to connect with and grow, is because I was still there when they finally decided maybe they wanted to do something different. So, but yes, I will say there were times before I started team calls when, I had a few coaches that wanted to work this, and I'll tell you, the only one that's still here is Chanel. So, it's just how it goes. You can pour a lot of heart and soul and believe, but people have to, people come and people go, and that's okay. But yes, and I have certainly gone through some interesting times, Erica, and I still
I know, like, I get what you're saying, it's about the vision, but how do you keep, like, I have that, I feel like I have the vision, but like, I'm diamond, but to have the belief, like, I have the belief, but to keep going like so long, like, what else kept you going? Has to be something else.
I just knew, like,
was your upline like was Emma like giving you a lot of like something?
No, we don't talk a lot, Emma and I. Like, she's always there for me if I needed her, but I think that I wanted to run this. I don't know. I don't know what it was specifically. It was a lot of things, right? It was that fulfillment side of it. Like, when you run a challenge group and you can see, even if just one person feels awesome and messages you at the end of it, it feels so good, and I needed it for my own accountability, I think was really helpful for me. But I knew that I had yet to find anything that brought me the same kind of joy and fulfillment that I would also allow to be able to do on my timeline, be home. Like, Mike travels a lot. And if I all of a sudden went back downtown to a job, then, no one would be around. And I want to live in different places. Like, there's just things I want to do. I want to take my kids and my husband for like 6 weeks of the summer and go live near my sister in Australia. Like, those are the things I want to do in my life. And I don't see why I shouldn't do those things. Yeah. And they're in our control, right? And I think that's what, once you start to get that in you a little bit more, and it's like, and there's always that element of like, you don't think I can do it? Just watch. I will do it, and to myself, to other people, there's all of those things mixed in. But when you first start to get coaches as well that come on, and you're starting to get this now, that believe in this too, that just fuels it to a new level, because you recognize that it's not just you. It's suddenly you're banded with other awesome people who believe and are fulfilled by the same things as you are. And I think I said it the other day, but it's like that awesome feeling you get, you know, when you're surrounded by like really great women and they're positive and they're not dragging you down and they're not making you feel badly because you want to lose weight. You know, they're making you feel great for making healthy decisions. And that's, I think, is just something that I think my daughter deserves to grow up into, you know, and the other girls and deserve to grow up into. And I want to make that a cool thing for people and not a rare thing. It should be the norm.
Yeah.
I have to say.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jody.
Oh, I was just going to say, Erica and I were talking about vision and belief yesterday. And in the tangibles and the intangibles, you know, there's these steps you can follow, but there's this other piece, just like everything you just covered, Priya. And it's so true. And Erica, I think you should have faith in the belief that you have, and don't, like, it might not like knock you on the head, be this huge obvious thing to you, but just like you're committed to your fitness, you know, for me, I started this because I wanted to be fit, but I also needed a job. Like I needed to go back to work, and the idea of like making a living, taking care of myself and helping other people do it, it almost seems to be true. And it did take me a long time to trust. And I think what Bria said about it takes people time to buy in, I have to like celebrate for a second, because today I just talked to a friend who the entire time I've been doing this once said, I might do that with you. And when I offered her, she was like, nope, I'm not doing it. I've never brought it up with her ever. And she needs this. And I was chatting with her today. We were talking about something totally separate. And she was like, I need you to train me. I need to get in one of your groups. So this is like one of my closer friends, a year and a half in, and she believes it. So that's the other, when your people start believing it, then you go, I can believe in it too, because it is real. I have made someone feel like they can do this that maybe never would have thought they could before. That's the power. That's the fuel I find that just makes me want to keep doing it. I'm never going to quit. I imagine, like, I've had those weak moments of like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's hard. And then I can't even stand thinking about what it would feel like to know that you guys were on this call every Wednesday and I wasn't here with you. It would really drive me insane.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I was going to say was for Erica specifically. Let's just attack Erica. No, or support, I should say. Support.
She likes it.
Yeah, she does. I know it. No, what I was going to say was just Erica and Jody both. I know Jamie and I are looking up to you. So you can't give up, because we're looking up to you, because
trust me, I'm going on the cruise, so I'm not like that's just not happening. But I'm discouraged, of course. It's normal. I know that.
That's a valuable point that you brought up, Sabrina, though, because I think that when you do bring people into this, you do have a responsibility to be your best for them, you know, to show them the way. It's you don't have to, but I think compliance says you do now, but it's, you know, it's still like it is, you know, it's part of who you are. But yeah, I would say like this whole, the validation of other people coming along is really great. But I think, you know, when you have a really awesome workout and it's like, it was hard, but you did it and you just feel like, I want to take on these challenges. That's what I like. I know there's times where you're like, okay, this is not fun, but there are times when you really feel like you accomplished something and it's like, that's the way I want my life to go. I want it to be filled with challenges that I am facing and taking on. Like, that's the kind of life I want to live, not another kind of life. You know, maybe I'm not into climbing Mount Everest, but there are huge mountains in my own world that I want to climb. And I'm like, that's what helps me keep going. I think that's the kind of person I want to be. And so when it gets harder, I'm like, no, like, this is my mountain and I'm climbing this sucker. So it helps. And you guys help a lot.
For me, jumping on board too, like I was the same. I needed a job. I needed to get back into the workforce because I was laid off. And so I used to be an esthetician. I did that for 10 years. I didn't want to go back to that. You know, I didn't want to go back to retail, and, you know, finding an office job for me was really hard because being in Ottawa, I don't have French myself. So that's so important here. So I have to make this work. There's no other option. Like I have to make this work. This is my job. This is what I do every day. And I don't, well, number one, I don't want to, you know, stop doing it and people see me fail. So that's kind of one thing too. But I just, there's no not doing this for me. Like I have to do it, and that's what I do. I'm gonna.
And that's awesome, Jim. You have such a good why. Like it's so strong.
Oh, thanks. I always feel like I don't have a clear why, so that's nice that you said that.
You do. That's a huge why. Like for me, I have an awesome job. I could easily not do this and no sweat off my back, but I want to do it because I love it, and I love the groups. I love the women. I love the community. I do.
Yeah, like if you had to choose between your full-time job and this, you would.
I'd take this. I would want Bria's job. I would want Bria's job, not my job.
You'll get to my job. You'll get here. And so on and so forth, right? I think that's the thing about this, is that you're going to reach, you think you're going to hit a point and you're going to be like, yes, I've made it, I'm successful. But when you're a goal, when you're an achiever and a striver and a goal, you know, you're always going to reach a point and say like,
you're probably like, why am I not Raina? You're probably like, why am I not Raina? Right?
Absolutely. I have those. Well, I just said to you, I was said to the Diamonds the other day, I got stuck in this spiral of like comparison. And it's like, no, like it's just such a robbery of who you are. Like you just need to like stay your path, help your people, and feel really like, try to enjoy the journey as best as you can, because we are making a difference here, and we're a part of a really good company with a great heart, but we get to control the message that we share. And I think that's what's so powerful. Awesome. Well, this was great, you guys. As always, this really fuels me. I always get kind of nervous when I have to talk, and you know, it's late, everyone's tired, but when I leave these calls, I feel like I'm on cloud nine again. So thank you very much. I'll probably go back to talking more about the tangible things next week, but have a great week, and please reach out if there's anything we can do. Reach out. And it's so nice to see some new faces on tonight. So welcome. All right, I'm going to stop recording and shut us down.